Welcome in, Big Blue Nation, to another episode of the Cats Talk podcast. I'm your host, Cameron Johnston, joined by both of my co-hosts today, Jacob Boyers and Tyler Britton. Guys, the rumor mill is out and swirling. Jacob, I know I sent it to you yesterday. Mark Stoops, potential candidate at VT? We buying into it a little bit? Just a little bit?
I can't see it, but I don't know. I mean, who knows? Maybe. I mean, we got lucky with Cal in Arkansas. Do we have another savior there in Blacksburg?
Man, boy, I hope so. That would be. Can we get another? I mean, what's Virginia Tech's version of the Chicken Man? What do we got there? You know anything out there?
Just Frank Beamer.
Yeah, one can hope and pray that that's what's going to happen. But we're nationally televised for the ESPN night game. Why? Why is this the game? Why us against Texas in Lexington? Why is this the game where they decide to feature the Wildcats?
Well, will it be like our two ABC games where we're just getting absolutely killed by the announcers because we don't know how to manage a clock?
I mean, if I had to guess, history said yes.
off of a bye as well. I mean, this is lining up to just be a complete clown show that I think a lot of the national media will recognize and kind of see why Kentucky fans are a little fed up after the last 3 or 4 years.
Yeah, and fed up, I don't even know if it describes it. I was sitting there, and during the weekend, we went to Big Blue Madness, and seeing all of the positivity. It's not the fan base, man, because you see how much they're rallying around this basketball team, and they haven't even met half of them yet. It's just, I mean, what is there to get positive about? The one thing you could probably sell was Cutter Boley. You've seen that for a couple weeks. I mean, what are you selling going into this Texas game?
I think it's probably Cutter. I mean, that's the best thing you got, and I'm not saying that that's a highlight. I think you're probably selling just a good weekend around Lexington, maybe. Get people down to Keeneland, then get them over to the game. I know a lot of people have kind of had this circled for 6 months now since the schedule came out, but I tell you, I think there's going to be a lot of burnt orange in that stadium, and just from a Kentucky perspective, I mean, Cutter played okay against Georgia. I don't know what else you really look forward to when you're going up against a team that opponents average 11 points a game against them, and you can't find a way to score. So, I mean, as questionable as Arch and that Texas offense has looked, I think you're in for a really long and tough night there in Lexington Saturday.
Well, and speaking to that, I mean, this Texas team has been very volatile week to week. I mean, they just lose to Florida, then they come back out the next week and beat Oklahoma in the Red River rivalry. I mean, so what Texas team are you getting? What Arch Manning are you getting? I will say, if anything, if we're looking for positive situation out of this game is definitely a lot more winnable than we thought heading into the season. And I think both of you guys would agree to that.
Absolutely. From what, Texas was the team I obviously picked to win the national championship. So they're not really living up to that level by any means. So, but this is a game where obviously, kind of like you saw it last week, they can't lose again. They know it. I think Kentucky's catching them at a pretty bad time, even with how bad their offense has been, because this defense is, like I said, still playing really well. Even that Florida game, I mean, they had some short fields to set up those 29 points or whatever that they scored. This is a game where I think Sarkisian's just got to tell Arch Manning, just no bad turnovers, and we win this game by 2 to 3 scores easily. We can, I don't see a world where Kentucky scores more than, 14, best case scenario, I would say, really best case without a turnover that leads to a score. I don't see this offense mustering more than a couple scoring drives.
Yeah, and just speaking of Texas's depth, I mean, that's what you always look at when you look at teams like this. Just the amount of talent that they bring in, year out, and that really gets shown in the depth, especially on the defensive side of the ball. And I think you've seen that so far with how they've played. But if you're a Texas football fan, first off, you're coming into Lexington. They got a lot of money down there in Austin, Texas, so a lot of burnt orange, like you mentioned. is going to be at Keeneland. I might have to go there to get some of that orange out. I'm going to have to try and do my best to weed those guys out of here. But I don't think I'm going to be able to do a good enough job to keep him out of Kroger Field. I expect to see a lot of that orange on Saturday. And for good reason. I mean, they've got a good team. This Kentucky team, just like you mentioned, can't really muster up anything offensively. And the defense, who we thought was going to be good this year, is really taking a step back. I'm just looking forward to seeing if this team does have that fight, because this is going to go one of two ways. It's either just going to be an absolute drugging from start to finish. Texas comes in here and shows you you're just not on their level, or Kentucky hangs around and shows a little bit of fight. But the one thing I don't want to see in this game is this team quit, because we saw it last year, and then you could just never get the season back on the tracks after that.
Yeah, this is a game that can definitely kind of spiral. I think we talked about it a little bit after South Carolina and Georgia. This is where if you come out and kind of get killed this week and then go and I think Tennessee's going to drop 50 on you the week after, you could really see a lot of these guys kind of check out. So I do think this is going to be Mark Stoops, if you want to kind of continue to coach beyond this year here at this program. I know the fan base feels one way about it, but you got to be able to show that you can get these guys fired up and ready to fight for this game, because if you can't, it's when will they? And I don't know how it's going to play out Saturday, but he's going to have them ready to go at the bare minimum and play with a lot of heart and a lot of fight.
Yeah, and I'd almost take that one step further. Like, if you're wanting to coach anywhere with a high pedigree or a place where Stoops is going to want to be after being in Lexington for so long, you're going to have to win some of these games that you're not expected to. Because right now, the only other win that's on this schedule is that Tennessee Tech. But if you're at Texas and you're coming into this game, is this just not a recover and get right game? I mean, if I was a Texas fan, I think that's how I'd be looking at it, especially with the schedule that they're going to have coming up. Because obviously they just faced Oklahoma, that Mississippi State team, who we thought was just going to be a team that was rolled over. I mean, they've been playing very well. So I look at it honestly as a get-right game for Texas. Hopefully I'm wrong, but just wanted to get your guys' thoughts on that as well.
Yeah, I think this is a game. It obviously a much different game than we thought. Going into this week here, we think Texas has not been playing up to speed. I think this is a really good opportunity for Brad White and his defense to kind of put something on the field, put something together, maybe bounce back a little bit against Arch Manning and the team that the offense for Texas here, since they haven't been performing as well all year. This could be an opportunity for them. And then with the spark of a pass game that we had last week, this is an opportunity for that to take its next step, mix that in with a little bit more of a run game. And, hopefully we can keep it a close game. We keep it a close game. There's a shot that we can keep, we can pull out a win here and really jumpstart our season. But to your point, if we can't, this is really like the downside of our season. We talked about in the offseason, this was supposed to be the stretch where we lose, a bunch of games. I don't see it really helping us if we lose. Obviously, we're always starting to check out as a team anyway, so it really is a must win at this point. But they are, at that being said, like they always are at this point of the year.
I'd almost argue for Mark Stoops, if he's wanting to keep his job, almost every game is a must win. But you're not expecting, like Jacob mentioned, I think this Texas game, outside of the Vanderbilt game later in the season, is probably one of your most winnable games that I think you're going to have. Because, like Jake mentioned, Tennessee is probably going to come into Lexington and drop at least 40. I mean, they've been scoring at will against anybody. I mean, look at that game against Georgia. They put up a good amount of points, and obviously we couldn't stop Georgia from scoring. So I'm as down bad as I've been when it comes to this Kentucky football program. Because the thing is, like, I can sit here and I can draw up, a blueprint to keep this game close to where, you can keep it a score going into the fourth quarter. We can draw those up. But just don't have the faith in this coaching staff to do it. Like, you had that same mantra going into that Georgia game. And it was just procedural things left and right, missing a kick, bad time management, things that just aren't correctable without getting people fired. That's the reason I don't think Kentucky's going to win this game. Obviously, I don't think any of us are going to pick them to win this game. But with all that being said, I still do think with how good our offensive line and defensive line are, I think there's ability for us to control this game, at least time of possession-wise, as long as if you get that cutter from last week and Seth McGowan's fully healthy and you just don't shoot yourselves in the foot, I think you at least stay in this game. otherwise, if you keep shooting yourself in the foot like we have done all season, and really the staff has shown us no reason why we don't think they're going to keep doing that. I don't see it happening. It's unfortunate because I like to come in here with Jake. You and I go back and forth, being a little sunshine pumper every now and again, trying to talk ourselves into a win by the end of the pod. We're just not going to get there.
No, I'm not going to get there. And part of it is, too, like, I still think Texas is a better team than they've shown through these first, 5 games. I still think they're going to be a team that, knocks off some good teams down the stretch, and who knows, maybe finds a way to sneak into the playoffs. I do think better days are coming for Arch. He's not as bad as we've seen so far this season. But, like, this game, the way, like, that you would kind of talk yourself into it is pretty much the exact same scenario we laid out going into that South Carolina game. Now, obviously, that was on the road. This one's at home. But kind of like everything's eerily similar, right? You're coming from a bye. You would hope that the coaching staff would have a good game plan in place. But it just shows just how quick, like, this team kind of can get punched in the mouth and it's over. A bad pick or, a fumble that a guy doesn't fall on the football, and next thing you know, it's done. Like, for Kentucky to even be in this game, you would expect Cutter Boley has to play near perfect with, no turnovers. You can't be missing open throws. And you would probably need a turnover or two created by your defense, which we have seen they have the ability to do. But if I was to talk myself into this game, I see it playing out very similar to that South Carolina game a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, and I agree with you. The one positive thing I think to come into this game with, you're coming off of Cutter's best game this season against a good Georgia defense, and also, I mean, Cutter played quite well down in Austin last year when he was thrust into action. I mean, that was the one that got all of Big Blue Nation to buy in on Cutter and want that guy to be the future. So, am I going to talk myself into it? No, but I do think we see a good game from Cutter, and I actually think you start to see this offense take another step. Jake, I might actually fight you on the fact that I think there's a chance this team is able to put 3 scores on the board. I just don't think the way I've seen this defense and this defensive scheme, the scheme with the players we have right now, it just doesn't match. Like, we can't make tackles in open space. I think that's a big reason why you see us giving up so many yards. Like, the Brad White defense is being able to give up those padded yards but make the tackle at the tackling spot, and then you're getting them off the field on 4th down, or you're creating turnovers. Right now, the defense is doing a pretty good job of creating turnovers, but they're not wrapping up and they're not tackling. And that's why we're giving up so many yards and we're off the field for so long on offense. I think the defense is actually the reason we're probably going to lose this game rather than the offense.
Yeah, and I mean, it's just hard. Like, we thought, obviously, the secondary was going to be a huge contributor for this team and a reason that, this defense was going to be pretty good this year, and they obviously haven't. And let's just keep it real. As bad as Texas has been, they still have a lot of speed on the outside there, and they still have a lot of guys that if you get them the ball in space and they make one man miss, they're to the house. So a missed tackle here or there, that could be the difference between giving up a 5-yard reception and a 80-yard touchdown.
Yeah, and especially Jordan Lovett, man. I mean, this game is the game you honestly just don't really want to see him playing that much. He's not very good in space and hasn't been able to make tackles as of late. Yep, you just scared me a little bit more. I already said the defense is the reason.
There's going to be one of those. They're going to throw a little screen out to the flat, love it, or somebody's going to whiff on a tackle, and it's going to be a 75-yard touchdown. Book it.
Yep. Yeah, you're right. You're right. I'm not going to fight you on it. Especially, just the way the secondary in general has been tackling. Like, especially if this gets past the front 7, like, I have faith in nobody in that secondary to make the tackle. I mean, JQ has been making tackles, but it's also because he's just giving up catch after catch after catch. And with DJ Waller not playing, I think this might be Arch's coming out party. I think he might throw for 300-plus yards against this team. And I think the defense is going to find ways to get sacks, and I think they're going to play well up front and limit the run game. But I think this is a game where Arch really starts to take off.
It's not looking good for us. If you're looking at the stat sheet, we're ranked in the hundreds in both offense and defense versus Texas right now. They're a top 10 defense still, and their offense is a top 50 offense. So, like you said, they're not playing great, but I see it the same way, Cam. I do see Arch Manning going off on this game. Unfortunately, it just doesn't. I'm not seeing too much promise. Arch Manning, if there's anything they've been doing right on offense, I mean, he at least can throw the ball a little bit. The run game hasn't been that good, but I just don't see us stopping people in space, and I just see him move the ball against us unwillingly. Now, that being said, at the end of last week, 2 weeks ago against Georgia, there was promise there where we were within a striking distance there at the end of the half, and we did have a chance to make a competitive game against Georgia. I think after that missed field goal, our team crumbled. I hope that there's not a situation like that against Texas, but if we can keep it a close game and we can capitalize on opportunities, to your point earlier, like we could have a shot to actually win this game. So I'm not giving up full hope here, but it's not looking great.
I'll give it up for you, Tyler.
And
which one?
As much as I want to fight Jake on saying something like that, I can't even be mad with what he's saying. It's just because it's a structural thing, man. It's from the top down, and with those guys still at the helm and nothing changing there, it's just, why do I believe that our time management is going to change in this game? Why do I believe that, hey, when we get a turnover and we force a turnover, we're not going to throw the ball 3 straight times and we have Seth McGowan in the backfield? I mean, there's just things like that I can't get past right now. Like, if you told me this is a close game, I believe you. If you told me it's 35-0 at halftime and Gerald Mincey somehow finds his way back to buy another hot dog at the concession stand, I'd believe you there too. So it's frustrating with this team because this team is genuinely better than last year's, but they're going to get crapped on more because of the guy at the helm and how much just turmoil there is about wanting to get him out of here. And honestly, this is just about as toxic as it was with Cal when he left. I mean, if you watch these interviews and these media sessions, these media guys are walking on eggshells, except for that one guy. Shout out to him for asking about the buyout going to him, because that guy had more plums than I did. Mitch Barnhart was standing right there, and I was not asking that question. So shout out to that guy for getting the scoop and letting us know. But I mean, it's so toxic. Everything is awkward. It looks like nobody wants to say anything. Mark Stoops doesn't show up to half of his, TV shows or radio shows that he's supposed to do anymore, kind of similar to what Cal did. I mean, you stay around long enough, you see yourself become the villain, and I think that's really where we're at with Stoops.
Yeah, it's very unfortunate. Real quick point of this game is, like, you're not going to win many games as a double-digit underdog wasting away possessions. Like, this team always, every game, finds a way to waste away.
3 on fire every game.
Yeah, whether it's, the end of the half, you mismanage the clock, you don't call timeouts at times when the other team is on offense so that you can get the ball back with time. Like, there's a lot of just wasted possessions, or to your point, you come out off of a turnover and you throw 3 straight incompletions and you give them the ball back 12 seconds of game time later. Like, with stuff like that, coming in as a double-digit underdog, like, those are the mistakes and things that just cannot happen. And unfortunately, to your point, Cam, with this coaching staff, it's happened for 13 years now. Like, I don't foresee it getting better after a 1 bye week going into the Texas game. So it's very hard to get optimistic. And I don't know. I'm like all the way back to where I was at the beginning of the year before I let you Tim Dinguses, flip me and get me back. And, I was drinking the Kool-Aid and said that this team would go to a bowl. I mean, I'm all the way back on, 1 more win this year and, just being a pretty miserable November.
Yeah. Been a miserable October. And
well, I was going to say, you think it's bad now. Wait until we lose this one. We get blown out by Tennessee. You lose to Vandy and Florida again. November, I mean, thank God Kentucky plays Louisville November 11th in basketball, because, it's going to be brutal around here.
Yeah, it already has been, and I think we've seen some of that. I mean, look at the amount of just the fact that the rumor mill is this hot and swirling this early in the season for a coach who's been tenured for as long as Mark has here at this university is crazy. And it only got heated up with James Franklin being fired at Penn State with that buyout that they're having to pay. So, I mean, the seat's only getting warmer and warmer. I think Stoops even got asked about it on his press conference on Monday, if he's paying any attention to these guys, getting a quicker leash than normal. He's like, yeah, I see it. And that's all he said. It's like, buddy, you're one of those guys that are on that seat. That's kind of why they're asking you the question. But I don't know, man. I just don't know. So the thing is because when we talked preseason and before we gave our schedule predictions and all of this, everything that I thought this team would be better at, they have been. But for whatever reason, like, I don't know if it's Mark's just so set in his ways and he has to win it a certain way. He has to do it the way that he's always done it. Or if it's just the fact that the game has passed him so far by and we don't have guys like Lynn Bowden, like Josh Allen to make game-saving plays. I mean, I think that's what it is, but to see it change this quickly, because I was out after, 2022? Jake, when that first original Texas A&M job started popping up, and I was sitting there, I'll go back in the chat and find it. It's in there somewhere. I was like, oh, let him go. This is the time. And there was one Mr. William Jacob Boyers who fought me on that tooth and nail at the time. Now look at you. Now you wish it would have happened.
Obviously you had it. Hindsight is 2020 for me. But I mean, I do think and it's a shame, and it's pretty much the exact same thing when we sat here, and me and you would always talk about Cal. It really is a shame that it kind of gets to this point. And you saw it with Arkansas with Sam Pittman. I kind of feel like it was the same kind of thing. That was a coach that had a lot of success there. They loved him. He would get up in his interview and say he's going to go drink a cold old beer after the game, and everybody loved him. And then it just, a couple years of losing, and it just becomes so toxic that, I'm hoping there's still a day where Stoops gets his flowers here, but if this season you go win 4 games and somehow we find a way to bring him back, and then you go do it again, it's just, it gets to this point where the fan base can't take it. And yeah, would it have obviously been perfect if in 22 he took that A&M job and rode out of here with 2 10-win seasons and all the accolades and everybody pretty much still being really high on him. Yeah, and this is going to be a tough year to go find a coach. There's a lot of job openings already open. Penn State, Arkansas, Oklahoma State, Virginia Tech, they're already starting their coaching search process. Whereas, Kentucky's not going to start it at least until after that Louisville game at the very earliest. And, there's more big jobs that I think a lot of us think are going to come open, Florida included. It's going to be a tough year to find a coach. So you have to do it, and you got to do it, I think, the second the season ends. Otherwise, you're going to be at a major disadvantage. This can't be like a Cal situation where, it's a month after the season and we're still talking about, is he going to come back? Is he going to go? And then Stoops either retires or takes another job or whatever the case may be. You got to know, Barnhart's got to essentially know now that, hey, November, 28th or whatever the date is after that Louisville game, I got to start my coaching search officially.
Yeah, can I say something that bothers me about this whole situation? And it's
Sure.
just, I genuinely think they bring him back even if they get to 3 wins and they look competitive in games.
I don't.
I was there earlier in the season where I didn't think they would. But I look at it and I'm looking at all, like you mentioned, all of these job openings going around the clock. Auburn's probably going to be open as well. You mentioned Florida. I mean, there's 2 just in the SEC along with Arkansas. So there's 3 that are in the SEC. And outside of, Auburn and Florida are definitely better jobs than Kentucky. Arkansas, you can argue that one a little bit. Barnhart's never been the guy to pull the trigger quick. How long did it take him for the Cal thing? And he still didn't let him go. He still wasn't you had to get bailed out by, the chicken man down there in Fayetteville. I'm scared to see it is more my thing. I'm not saying it's likely to happen that they go 3-9 and he comes back, but I am scared to see a world where that survives because I could see someone talking to Mitch, especially the donors. Mark Stoops is friends with a good amount of them. He has great relationships with a lot of those guys. I could see a world in which his team unfortunately goes 3-9 and he's back. I don't agree with it. I could see the way it happens.
I used to actually kind of agree with you, but I think just kind of reading the tea leaves around it. I mean, the fact that like they kind of know they have the money to do it, that almost tells me that the donors have kind of said like we're okay with this. So I don't think it's a Cal situation where he's like completely fallen out with the donors and they all hate each other and they're not talking or
Yeah.
anything crazy like that. But I definitely think there's been conversations because like you read some of the posts on KSR and some of the other actual reporters. We're just three goofballs talking every day, but
Hey,
like
what's your
the
info?
people that are actually the people that are actually kind of there and talking, they've made it pretty clear that Kentucky feels confident they have the money. So that tells me a little different than probably how I felt. I mean, if you would have told me before the season that if they won 3 or 4 games, I would have said there's probably a good chance Stoops comes back. But I just think kind of reading all the tea leaves, like I think those conversations have kind of been had.
Yeah, I mean, I think they have too. Like I said, it's more just a worry of mine rather than a bold prediction or anything. It's just something that I mean, you mentioned well, like how bad the Cal situation was, and Mitch still wanted to bring him back, still, or at least felt like he had to, felt pressured in doing that.
Well,
So
and,
that's
and
that's kind of where I'm getting at. It's like we knew we were going to have no donor money. We knew we had the buyout. We knew Cal didn't really want to be here. The fans didn't really want him here. There was a toxicity with the media. A lot of similar spots here. Just you have donor money versus like Stoops has good relationships versus not having good relationships. Is really the only thing that I see differently here. Now, granted, Cal won a national championship and had a lot more success than Mark Stoops did, but Stoops did do his fair share for this program as well.
yeah, and I will say like there is some level of differences, right? Like Cal obviously won the national championship. He maybe had the best 5 year stretch that we've seen in modern college basketball. Obviously, that was 2010 to 2015. That wasn't 20 to 25, right? So there's a big difference there. But like you could still make a reasonable argument. I'm not saying I would or any. I think we all were obviously ready for Cal to go, but you could still say that there was still some level of success there, right? Like a 3-9 football season and a 4-8 football season is almost the equivalent of missing the NCAA tournament. You know, had
Which
Cal
he
after
did.
what he did, right? But like had after 2020, Cal gone 2 more years of missing the tournament, I think that's a much different conversation for Barnhart. Now, where I think there could be some similarities, like is if Stoops goes and wins 5 games, then I think you're in a very similar situation. And
I
to
think
that
he's true.
point,
No, without a doubt, if they win 5 games.
I agree. I'm not going to say without a doubt, but I think it's very similar to kind of how the Cal situation unfolded. And I do think that there's a good chance that Barnhart comes out and says, Stoops is still our guy. So I could see that like the 5 wins. I think kind of it's hard to compare a football and basketball season, but I would say like 5-7 is probably the equivalent of Cal making the tournament and losing to an Oakland on the opening weekend.
Yeah, well, I mean, the best thing about basketball is that like you get that definitive end of the season. You
Yep.
lose to an Oakland, you lose to a St. Peter's, and it's like, oh man, definitely shouldn't have done that. That shouldn't have happened. He's got to go now. For his football, I mean, you
I'd
kind of
say
have.
3-9 is pretty definitive.
I mean, I'm
Like
trust me, I'm there
7
with.
wins in 2 years, I think is pretty definitive that
I say,
it's over.
trust me, I am there with you. But I also just know that. I mean, Mitch is just not the fastest to pull the trigger on anything. That's why when he started like this LLC, you and I were kind of thrown off, like, oh man, that's something progressive. I didn't necessarily see him doing or being the first guy to do it. All right, quick question to the fellows here. Let's just say theoretically, because I don't think any of us still think there's a remote chance this team wins 6 games. So just let's start with 3, 4, and 5 wins. With each one of those wins, what's your percent chance you think you see Mark Stoops back on the sidelines next year?
3 and 4, I think it's very low. I'll say 20%. 5, I think it's 50-50.
Tyler?
I'm going to stick very similar. I'm going to give 3 wins, probably 10-15%. I think that I think they're to the point where they would be out if they feel like it's 3 wins. If he only wins against Tennessee Tech, and that's it. They get 4. They somehow squeak by with a 4th here. I think he can convince people. I think it's more of like a 45% chance he keeps his job, and if he wins 5 or 6 games, he's definitely keeping his job. That's the way I see it. It's just, I was kind of listening to you guys' conversation and just thinking of the job market itself, and then also thinking of like the lack of attraction that Kentucky brings as a football program, considering that you're splitting the budget with the basketball program. You're going to want to go find other jobs. I mean, even Penn State opening up is just a huge opportunity for a coach to take if there's a good coach out there for us. So, I think Mitch Barnhart's also thinking about that. It's like, who would we be able to bring in with all these jobs potentially opening up? I mean, you got North Carolina might be opening up too. So I just think there's a lot of opportunity out there. I think if you get 5 wins, I think that saves their job. So
I think quickly, Dan, before you comment on Tyler's thing, I think the other thing like you have to consider, and I think Barnhart has to consider, is like, yeah, $38 million is a lot, but like you got to do the math on, how down were season tickets this year? You bring this guy back, like it's going down again. Like football is your money maker, right? Like basketball, we're insane when it comes to basketball. I don't care if they roll me or you out there to coach this team. Like people are still going to be dying to get into Rupp Arena, no matter really how bad the team is or not.
Unless
football,
then they'll give it up. That's right.
Yeah, that's why I said you or I. I left one of us out on that. But no, like football is obviously the moneymaker, not just at Kentucky, it's everywhere. And I just don't see how it can be financially, make sense for you to bring him back and not eat the bullet of a $38 million buyout, because you're not going to – I mean, you heard all offseason how many people weren't renewing their season tickets. And you think that's going to plateau with another year of this? Like, no, it's going to get significantly worse. And I just think from a business perspective, that weighs in a lot too, versus, how we looked at the situation with Cal.
Yeah, I think it's the opportunity cost is kind of what you're talking about there. Just, if you bring him back, I mean, guys that have been season ticket holders that sat through the Joker Phillips era and places like that are not saying they're coming back. I mean, that should be a sign in general. And I even saw a graphic that showed the last 2 seasons of Mark Stoops and Joker Phillips' tenure. They're about the same.
Similar.
They're very similar. But before I forget, I mean, the blatant disrespect from this absolute clown over here to compare her and call the North Carolina job a better job than the University of Kentucky.
I didn't say it was better. I said that it was possibly opening up as well, which would also be consideration for a coaching candidacy. So I don't see too much of a difference here.
I just can't dignify it. Sometimes when you're talking to the town fool, you just don't dignify it with the response. So that's where I'm going to stay there. But
it's also like not just these coaches opening up. It's what you see at other schools. Indiana, for God's sakes, is made the playoffs last year. Obviously,
Indiana and Vanderbilt being good football programs while we're sitting here winning 4 games and potentially 3 this year is just mind-boggling.
But it's that, but like it's also the aspect of like Indiana obviously plays an easier schedule on a week-to-week basis, but still like. Kirk Cinetti in his second year just went and won at Oregon. Your point of Vandy, a team that won 7 games last year is on pace to win 7 or 8 again this year. Missouri went and got a new coach a few years ago and has had success. Shane Beamer at South Carolina. Like, I don't think you can just sit there and stand idly by while you're becoming the 16th best team in the SEC with all the success that we've seen from these other programs that have gone out and gotten coaches. Like, there's no excitement now. If he finds a way to go, beat a Florida and then maybe steal a Vandy game or whatever the case may be, and you win 5, I still just don't think there's a level of excitement. I mean, we talked. I don't remember if it was last week or after the South Carolina game, and you guys, I think Cam, you asked the question of like, what would it take for you to be excited about like next year, or even just be excited in general about this program? And I said pretty blatantly, like, it's going to take a new coach. Like, there's not just a go win and shut everybody up. I think that ship has almost sailed unless by chance you found a way to go win, 7 games, which I don't think any of us think is even on the table here. So I like, even if this team somehow found a way to go get to a bowl game and, you beat a limping in Florida or whoever else, and you find a way to 6, and then you tell me Stoops is back, like, I'm going to have a pretty negative outlook on next year as well.
Yeah, the crazy thing about that is like we're talking about like not even winning can get you back into the good graces of this fan base.
It's done.
Now, I think that just kind of shows that it's curtains for this staff. I mean, even if they were to go out and beat Texas, like if we all would have sat here and said, "Hey, they're 3-3 after the first 6 games with a win against Texas," I think we'd all feel so much better about this team preseason. And they still have the opportunity to go out and do that. It's just the way in which they're losing and the way in which they're not finding new ways to try and do anything. I mean, like nothing has changed at all. Like the offense is still staying the same. You're not trying to move the ball. He talks about, you know, wanting to get out on the move with this offense and, run more plays, run more plays. How many times have we heard Mark Stoops say over the past 5 seasons that he wants to run more plays, and then we still are one of the most least tempo offenses in the NCAA? And we can keep putting that on the offensive coordinator, whichever one happens to stroll through next. I mean, it's Stoops' problem. And unfortunately, I don't even think with a win against Texas, you're getting much buyback in here from the fans, even if you're starting at 3-3. Because then guess what? The very next week, Tennessee's going to roll in and probably stomp you. And now you're back to 3-4, and you're still looking at the same situation.
Yeah, and it doesn't help that, we've talked about this a million times, but I'm going to say it again. Like, it doesn't help that all these offensive coordinators go and have a ton more success once they leave here. I mean, go back to even like Neil Brown. I mean, he had some really successful years at West Virginia before he was ultimately fired. Shannon Dawson was a guy we couldn't wait to get out of here. Now he's the OC for maybe the favorite to go win the national championship at this point. Liam Cohen right into becoming a very successful NFL head coach, and it's like, none of us wanted Liam gone, but it is like you didn't really let him unleash and reach his full potential while he was here in Lexington. I mean,
The craziest part about that is if you let him do that the first year, and then you hamstrung him when he come back. So it doesn't make any sense.
Well, not only that, I mean, you kind of let him do it, I feel like, but even then, like, you had Will Levis and Wandale Robinson, like, it's a little easier to kind of, justify it. But like, even then, it felt like there were times where, like, even that first year, it felt like Cohen was making comments and stuff about, they wanted to play faster and they want to do this or that, and it just never really panned out. And then again, all these guys go on to have so much more success when they leave. I mean, would it shock me if Bush Hamden, gets another OC job in the Mountain West or whatever and goes and starts, and is back in the SEC in 5 years? No, not at all. Because that's just the way all of these things work out.
Yeah, and that's the most damning part about all of it, really, is that the only way that can be changed is with the regime change. But the thing is, and I hate to be this type of fan, you're almost getting to the point where you don't want them to win these games because you don't want there to be that possibility of Mitch Barnhart bringing them back. And unless they win out, maybe lose one more game, that's the only way I'd even feel confident in this staff, is if they did that to roll it back out for another year. So I'm almost to the point, like, outside of that Louisville game and the Tennessee Tech, I'm cool. As long as you're telling me you got a regime change coming up, I'm cool. I can't let the big dog throw L's up at us, though. That's for damn sure. I can't let that happen.
He's gonna. I'm letting you know right now.
You can try it. I'll go take that L and shove it where the sun don't shine. No, It is not. Things are bad in Lexington, at least on the football side of things, guys. We still got the basketball team, and guess what? This is the most juice I've seen around this program in quite some time. Even,
I'm
you
ready.
know, we got last year where we had the ability to have that new regime. And I think that's why a lot of people are so ready for the Stoops tenure to be over. They just saw what a new young mind can do in the college basketball sphere and versus the older guy that, while he ended up having the same amount of success at Arkansas that Pope did in Kentucky the first year, it was different. There was energy. The fan base loved it. Fan base bought in. And I think that's why we need this coaching change. But guys, before we get out of here, we do still have to predict the score for this game. I'm still the only one that's perfect so far. I just want to throw it out there. Don't want to toot my own horn. I am 5-0 on these predictions.
You got the Ole Miss game wrong.
I did not. I predicted that pregame. The pregame
My
graphic we rolled out.
preseason prediction's perfect. The problem is I picked a lot of wins in the back half of the schedule that I don't see working out now. But so far, still perfect on preseason predictions.
Yeah, well, you keep talking about preseason all you want. I'm talking about the regular season here, pal. All right, Tyler, you got that stupid look on your face, so I'm going to let you start with these score predictions. What do you got for this Texas-Kentucky game?
I mean, I'm just going to go fast with this one. It's going to be a quick L here against Texas. I don't see us having a real good game. I think a lot of our team's going to be checked out going into the game. We might have a good drive or two, but the second things go south, the second there's a score gap, the team's going to check out. That's how I see the team playing at this point. Final score, I'll give you guys 31-10.
Yeah. Damn, real quick. If you're gonna throw to Tyler every time he's got a stupid look on his face, I don't know if he would ever shut up on this podcast.
Yeah, especially that first we get 7 minutes without him talking, so we would have had about 7 minutes of commercial-free Tyler, and I don't even know if Scott.
I always wonder why people say the first 5 to 7 minutes are their favorite of the podcast. It's never really clicked.
If you look at all the analytics on Spotify, iHeart, YouTube, our
most likes, man.
It's that first 5 minutes, and then usually Tyler jumps in, and everything just hits the fan after that.
Yeah, no, I don't have a great score for the Cats. I honestly think it's going to play pretty similar to that Georgia and South Carolina game. I'm going to say Georgia covers, Texas covers. Golly, it's
you get Tyler all this.
These teams are going to cover. No, all these teams are going to cover. Georgia covered. Texas is going to cover. Tennessee's going to cover. I'll go 34-10.
34-10.
Pretty close to mine there, Boyers.
Not even a little bit, Tyler.
Why do they seem pretty
31-10, 34-10. I don't know. It's a field goal difference.
34-13. Get me away from this clown.
All right.
Field goal each team.
We'll say I got a little bit more confidence in this offense than you guys do. I know they're going against a great Texas defense who, held Ohio State to 14 points in the first game, even though it was in a loss. But I do have a lot less faith in this defense than you guys do. I got 38-17 Texas. Really, not much else to say about it. I don't really see it being that close. I'd love to paint you guys a rosy picture of how this team can go out. They take the ball to start. Texas defers after winning the toss. We have a nice methodical drive that gets the Cats down there, and we polish it off with a touchdown. Get a nice quick turnover and capitalize on that as well. But, even then, would you guys feel safe with a 14-0 lead? Because I know I wouldn't. So even me painting a rosy picture to the start of the game, I still wouldn't feel good about it. All right, guys, we all got the Cats dropping to 2-4. Anybody got anything that they want to share before we hop off of this? What was a very positive and energetic episode for this Kentucky football program.
No, this just bummed me out. The fact that we're gonna have we're gonna have 6 more of these to finish out the year. Yeah, it's a tough time to be a UK football fan. That's saying a lot when you look at our history.
sometimes you don't know how good you had it, man. That 2017 to 2021 run, man, I should have just accepted it and been like, yep, this is the highlight of my life.
No. Oh, we fired Rich Brooks for a lot more success than what we've had these last 2 years. So
yeah, thanks for the reminder there, pal. Tyler, do you have anything insightful you want to say before we hop off this podcast? Because guess what, guys? The next podcast we have coming to you will be talking about Big Blue Madness and how much fun that was. And we're going to do a full 180 of what you've just seen here. You saw negativity, especially a lot coming from Tyler Britton. So Jacob and I are going to bring a lot of more positivity about this basketball program. Tyler, sign off Big Blue Nation with something a little positive, maybe, if you want to. Give them something a little insightful. Whatever you got, give it to Big Blue Nation now.
Yeah, Big Blue Nation, it's been a pleasure having you guys here. We're excited for the basketball season here. We're just down there at Big Blue Madness. We're going to get ready to talk to you guys about that here soon. Tune into those because it's going to be a way better season coming with this basketball season here. Let's go.
So you're telling me this basketball team is going to be better than the football team?
Now that you said it, I don't know.
All right, guys, that is all for us here. Don't forget to like and subscribe wherever you get our podcast, Spotify, YouTube, iHeart Music, wherever you get it. We are out there. Jacob's holding it down on X. Tyler's not really holding it down anywhere, and I'm holding it down everywhere else. With that being said, we're going to break down Big Blue Madness for you next. Go Big Blue.